Hi, I'm Maria. I'm one of LocalGov Drupal's accessibility leads. I work at an agency called Agile Cooperative, where I'm a developer and an accessibility specialist. I brought together these you all and the panel today to talk about accessibility, the accessibility community that we have, and how we can develop it. And yeah, as I put lots of words like incubate in the title, I can't remember them now. But I'll start by maybe asking our panel to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the questions. Mike, would you like to introduce yourself?
For sure. I'm Mike Gifford. I am a Senior Strategist at CivicActions. I'm also a Drupal Core Accessibility Maintainer. For 21 years, I ran my own business, and in that time, I worked with a number of different organizations, including the City of Ottawa, and very interested in this initiative, the LocalGov initiative. I think that there's so much to seeing governments work together. CivicActions does a lot of work with government websites, mostly federal in the U.S., but definitely in general, getting collaboration between governments is something that we're very excited about.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to speak to us. Really appreciate it. Nova, can you tell us about yourself? You are muted.
I'm so bad at that. So I'm digital lead for Luton Council. I've worked there about 7 years now. And I think it's sort of 5 or 6 years since the accessibility regulations were sort of announced to us all. So that's been my focus for the last few years. And it's just trying to kind of share that knowledge around the council and just get everybody on board. So we've had our challenges, which I'm going to be talking about at some point. But that's, yeah, so that's a big part of my journey, and that's why I'm here today.
Great, thanks Nova, and thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan, who are
Yep.
you?
Hi everyone. Oh, thank you. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ryan Falcon-Hay. I'm one of the website managers at Hammersmith and Fulham. There's 3 of us in the team with that title, so it can be confusing for people. But I am the council's product lead for LGD, and I've also been our accessibility champion. Thankfully, we do have a digital accessibility lead in the council now, so there is someone else I can share all of my joy and pain with that work. I'm sure, yeah, I've got similar experiences to Nova as well. I have supported other councils along their accessibility journeys as well.
Great, and thank you for joining us. So I was just going to give a little bit of context about why I wanted to do this session today and what personally I'm hoping to get out of it, and then I've got some questions to steer the discussion, but we'll see what comes out of it. So I mean, within the LocalGov Drupal community, we've got so many talented accessibility advocates and professionals. We have a base product which has a reasonable level of accessibility. We've got a small team who have kind of self-identified as being responsible for maintaining the accessibility of that product. But you know, accessibility takes a lot of people. We've got lots of individuals like Nova and Brian in councils who are sometimes like the sole voice trying to advocate for a culture which is embraces accessibility. We've got lots of really talented accessibility specialists within our suppliers who have access to like vast knowledge and resources and expertise. And there's like loads and loads of people, individuals who I think would love to learn about accessibility but don't really know where to start. So I come to this project with like quite an overt passion for open source and for collaboration and accessibility. And so what I wanted to bring to this session is basically infect you all with that. And I've got 3 kind of things that I want to get out of today, which is to talk about how we can build accessibility culture, a culture of accessibility within the councils, and how we can support people like Nova and Ryan in doing that. how we can develop it. So that's the first. The second is how we can sort of develop the accessibility community of practice within the LocalGov Drupal community, how we can all learn from each other. And thirdly, how we can mobilize the community to help improve the accessibility of the products that we are responsible for. So that's my motivation today. We'll see what happens in the discussion. But I will start with some questions first to Mike, who has spoken a lot in many places about open source and accessibility, and how open source is a really powerful tool to make more accessible solutions. So I was hoping you can maybe speak a little bit to that, and what you think is what we need to have in place to really make use of that, if that's clear.
Yeah, that's terrific. I mean, I think the first part is embracing the fact that accessibility is complicated. It's not complicated. It's complex. It's a wicked problem. You're dealing with systems that are changing, evolving all the time. Whether it's the browsers or your legislation or the tools you're using, it's all evolving as the internet does. And so you're not at a point that you can say, yes, we've got this resolved and we've got accessibility fixed. That's what people want, but you can't get there. It's like security. All you can do with security, you can never build something that's 100% secure unless you shut it off. If you turn it off, then it will be absolutely secure because nobody will use it, nobody can hack it. But with security, you have to keep that mindset in mind that this is all you can be is more accessible today than you were yesterday. And if you build that journey into your process so that you're working with others to go off and make that process more effective and more and to make it more, you're planning for a marathon and not a sprint, right? So we may have many sprints involved in the process, but I think that the big thing is trying to go off and to reshape your mindset so that we're thinking about how do we take on these really interesting challenges in order to address them. And some of the accessibility issues are fairly simple, but also are very complicated. Like alt text, like everyone who's here probably has heard about the need for alternative text and making sure that you have accessibility or attributes available so that non-sighted people can engage with visual content. That's all good. How do you do it? How long could it be? Is it people may remember what NASA did recently with the James Hubble, James Webb Telescope, where they went off and described in detail what stars they saw and how it was structured and visually how it was arranged. And there's all sorts of questions like, well, is that the right amount? Is it too much? How much information is accurate? So even with something as simple as alternative text, there's a great deal of complexity that comes down to creating good content that is relevant for your users. And so much of that involves putting the users first. How do we try and see that you're engaging with your users and making sure that your tools are able to go off and meet their needs as effectively as possible? And so open source simply allows us to collaborate and innovate and to understand what we need to do to reach a base level of accessibility, which is what the WK guidelines are really about, but also allow you to go off and to then go further to say, what do my users need? What can I need to go off and better suit the content that I have and be able to make sure that when our team defines quality, that it means that we're making sure that we're building in that mindset into that basic definition so that we're all working together at all stages of the project to deliver something that meets the needs of our users. And that's not just some of our users, that's all of our users. So that's really how I see open source being useful and being really privileged to be in a role with the Drupal community as a maintainer and to spearhead accessibility within Drupal 7, 8, and 9, and 10. So it's being at this for a long time. But I think that there's always more to learn, and there's always things that we can benefit from engaging with each other, both inside our our government institutions, as well as across those in other sectors.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, you know, but maybe building off that, I know at CivicActions you've put together an accessibility playbook, which is open to the world. I found it, and one of those chapters is about building a community of practice, an accessibility community of practice, and which I think is maybe what you're pointing to as well, about sharing best practice.
Absolutely, it's trying to go up and within what we were trying to accomplish with that that guidebook, and particularly with the sections on looking at roles for different individuals, is to try and make it easier for people to understand, what does a designer need to know about accessibility? What does a front-end implementer need to know? What about a interactions designer? What about a project manager? There's all of these different roles that and accessibility affects all of them. And so how do we try and make sure that when we're building out our systems, that people who are involved in these different sections are aware about how that definition of quality affects them, and what they need to do in order to go off and to make sure that they're doing their part. I'm also part of a group called the W3C has a group looking at the accessibility roles and responsibilities mapping, that's trying to go off and to define this in more detail and give organizations a more of a playbook for how to break down and understand how teams should work on complicated projects. If you've got a team of 20 people who are involved on a project, and there's some accessibility bugs, often you're going to find things are going to fall between the cracks, because somebody will point to, oh, this is a problem with the design system. Somebody else will say, oh no, this is a problem with the tool, and somebody else will point to it and say, oh no, this is a problem with our implementation of the tool, and or we've got the style guides wrong, or it's easy for people to point to somebody else. But if you approach it as a team and are looking at how to go off and build that team and community, then ultimately everyone has a responsibility to go off and say, let's go off and see who has the first level responsibility, second level responsibility, and how do we make sure that at the end of the day we understood what needs to happen in order to solve this problem for our users.
Brilliant. Yeah, maybe I'm sure somebody's found that on the internet already in the chat, but if you could you could give us a link to that would be great, Mike. Nova, maybe we could talk to you a little bit about the work you've been doing in your council. So you've been leading promoting and encouraging accessibility within Luton Council.
Doing my best to.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
maybe share how that what you've been doing and how that process has been for you, and what would you advise, maybe if you have any advice for other people who are in a similar position?
Well, okay, well, let's start at the beginning. So I was basically tasked with.
I know have we lost Nova?
Yeah, looks like she's left. I'll keep an eye on the.
Oh, are you back?
No.
You're back.
Oh my God, I don't know what happened there.
We can hear you, but we can't see you anymore.
Well,
there you are. You're back.
All of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're not coming through my headphones, but I can see everyone. So that's okay. Let's start from there. Sorry about that. Yeah. So first of all, my journey started with just basically researching accessibility and what that was about, and sort of putting together, guidance for people, guidance for anybody that was creating documents within the council, that sort of thing. And it's continued over a similar vein for the last several years. Like we do quite a lot of social media or work-based social media campaigns, news items, just trying to sort of keep that message spread. We created an e-module so that people can learn more about accessibility. What is a little disappointing with that? Have I gone again?
No, we can see you. You're fine. Oh,
can you hear me now?
We can hear you, yeah. Can you hear us?
You can hear me. Oh my God, I don't know what's happening. I can now. Can you see me again? Is it?
Yep. Yeah, we can still see
I'm
you and
so
hear
sorry.
you.
This has never
That's
actually
okay.
happened before. Believe it. Oh my goodness.
It's all right.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I shall carry on. Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot of steps that we've taken. So we have
Now,
yeah,
no,
which
you're back
unfortunately
again.
oh my goodness. This has never happened. This is really bad timing. Okay, so we've got the e-module, which unfortunately only 243 members of staff have taken in so that was introduced in 2020. So 3 years, but on average 100 people a year. That's not great. So obviously we've still got some work to do. We are trying to get, so there are lots of steps, like I'm trying to get that made mandatory for people in certain job roles so that they've had that training. And because quite often we hear, oh, I've never even heard of accessibility. And, you know, that's a little frustrating. So we need to, somebody starts at the council, part of their mandatory training is to learn about accessibility, depending on their job role. So we're trying to get that put into the system. We've also had accessibility added to our procurement journey. So if somebody's requesting any kind of digital tool, whether it's website or even just a digital interface, then we need to know, first of all, they have to ask the questions. Is there a digital accessibility statement that goes with that? So those steps are being added. We sort of get to approve certain things now before somebody can actually go and buy them. So that's good. We do sort of a lot of training sessions. They've mostly been one-on-one, but I did actually my first group training session on Friday to like 25 people. So I think they're going to become more of a thing. So they're not, the message is getting out there. It seems like a slow process, but we are getting there, and we just have to keep trying and keep coming up with new ways to try and interest people. One thing I have found, because obviously there's a sort of two sides to accessibility, like the penalties, whether it's financial penalties, but I tend to focus more on the moral side. We're excluding people if our website, if our content isn't accessible, and so I find that appealing to that side works. It should work better. It works better in a lot of cases. But there are so many steps. Another thing we're doing at the moment, so we've got a style guide, which was actually only created, our very first style guide was created based on accessibility rules. But we're now kind of combining that. There's more work going on with, there'll be an accessibility guide, which includes the style guide, house style, all sorts, color, brand colors that also have the right contrast, all of those sort of things, putting it all together in one place for people. So, and I think that's going to be useful, because again, it will bring more attention to staff that see it. We've got a digital work request form, which we've had for some time, just for requesting any amount of our time. But recently, we've just added accessibility guidance and support to that. Because we really do get it often. We have to sort of give training sessions to people on a really regular basis, and it's not just a 5-minute job, as you know. It's it can be up to a couple of hours if you're going through all the steps of making a document accessible. So there are absolutely loads of steps. It's an ongoing process. I don't think it's never going to stop. I know we're going to bring it up a bit later, but just to mention that I'm going to be starting, or hopefully going to be starting, we're sort of still putting it all into place, a digital accessibility apprenticeship. So that's I'm quite looking forward to getting that more of an all-round knowledge about accessibility. Obviously, at the moment, I focus a lot on content. So there's going to be I'm going to be able to do testing, and looking at actual new builds, anything like that. So that's quite exciting. It's an ongoing journey. It really is.
And it sounds like that you developed quite a lot of resources for it within your own council.
Yeah.
That I wonder whether that's something that we could start.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a step
sharing those
by
resources.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea, and I'd need to speak to my manager, but I can't imagine there being any kind of a problem with sharing between us all. I mean, we've got a step-by-step guide on the intranet, which is probably not something that we can share because it's part of our intranet. but we have got a lot of documents that kind of say all the same things, and we do have that e-module. I can sort of help people. I'm very happy to share my training sessions, the kind of scripts for those sessions that I've started doing with teams and services. Very happy to help with any of that. I've got PowerPoints that I've put with the history together, and you name it, we've got it, and I'm happy to share.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if anybody else who's in the room has developed such materials. You could maybe get in touch with us, and we can start trying to pool some of those resources so that everyone doesn't have to go off and start writing their own. Yeah.
That's the best bit about collaboration. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Ryan, maybe we could talk a little bit. You've been leading on the publications feature, and you've got a whole talk about that later on in this week. So we don't need to go into the detail of that, and everybody come along to that session too. But what maybe you could talk about is how. So where the idea for that came from, and how you actually got it to the point, like where it was being worked on, because it's a key accessibility feature, of course. Thinking about like if people have an idea for an accessibility feature, how can we actually get it into production?
Yeah, sure. I mean, no matter which council you speak to, I think it is safe to say that we all have the same disdain for PDFs. I think for most councils, PDFs are produced by the services themselves, so they're usually inaccessible, and they either hide away useful information for users, or they're short enough that they can be published as HTML, but the service doesn't want to do that because they've, in their minds, made it all fancy. It's all nice pictures and all the rest of it, and that's what they want people to see. But I think, in my experience at H&F, I think just going back, I've been at H&F since 2019. I think it's always been my goal ever since I heard that we had to do the upgrade from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, because Drupal 7 was going to be decommissioned. It was just always my intention, like somehow, some way, we need to get a publications template on our website, because we were just publishing maybe 300 to 400 just estate inspections every year. And these are just reports of like, yes, this estate is clean, or all of this stuff needs to like be taken care of and stuff. So, and in fact, we've already done an estate inspections template as well. So thank you, Justine, for that. And that has cleared away all of that stuff. But I mean, as I said, I was just hell bent on just reducing our use of PDFs and publishing more content in HTML. And so in terms of when we joined LocalGov Drupal, I think conversations about our publications template in the community go back over 2 years or so. But it wasn't until around about a year ago that we officially formalized a working group. And this involved around, I think, 4 councils. So off the top of my head, I think it was H&F Newcastle, Oxfordshire and Brighton. And then we had a team of developers from suppliers, including Chicken, Agile Collective, and Open Code, I think it was. Maybe Mark, I think Mark from Anatech may have been there in the beginning as well. And so in terms of just how like that kicked off and the collaboration around it, I mean, it was really fun. Well, it's been really fun because it's still ongoing. And it's certainly been an interesting journey as well over the past year. I mean, we've had periods where things have moved really rapidly, especially in the beginning, where obviously we were doing the scoping and the requirements. And it just seemed, I guess, as well, that everyone just had a lot of time for this because we'd been talking about it for so long. But obviously, as time's gone on, we've all had other commitments come into play. So things have slowed down now. And that's particularly been the case with myself as well. But in terms of just, how we collaborate, we meet every 2 weeks to report on progress and to yeah, again, see what needs to be done. But then we also have, we do like to do things online as well. So we do have a public issues queue in GitHub, which means everyone in the group can obviously come together and look at all of the different tickets, but it also means people who are not so involved can also jump in with their thoughts as well. And that's really good because it means that things that we hadn't anticipated can be like brought to the surface as well, and we can also cross over into other things that are going on. So for example, there's been a lot of discussions around H1 headings in publications, but also within guides, as there are like a lot of common traits and issues, yeah, that both templates share because they are quite similar. And yeah, I mean, just having those two different channels for us to communicate in, as well as the publications channel within Slack, just means that the team is flexible, sorry, and yeah, people can get involved as and when they need to or want to, and just help out with different things just to keep things moving. So we are quite close to getting a beta release of publications now. Should be in the next few weeks because yeah, we need to launch our first one in about 3 weeks time. So yeah, it will, I mean, it's there now, and obviously if you come to the session tomorrow you can find out more, but it is available now for people to test out on the Chickens site. Oh, I can see, so I can just see Justine's putting stuff in the chat about what needs to be done. But Mike talked about images earlier, which I was going to touch on as well, as an example of like other bits of collaboration that we've done. So in terms of other people who want to contribute something to LocalGov Drupal, whether it's something new, like a new idea or something they've already got, my first thing is going to be to say, just get onto Slack and talk about it. Engage with the community and just see who else has that same problem and if they want to collaborate in solving it. So you might find that someone else has already tackled it, but if not, you might be able to collaborate with them in designing and building the solution. And yeah, as I was just saying, like another accessibility feature we've worked on is around the image component and the logic around alt text and captions, and how they're used and just presented to screen readers. So I'm not going to go into the details of that. If you want to find out more about that, then you should come along to the HNF feature session on Thursday. Sorry for the shameless plug there. But that's one of the features that we do want to see if people want us to contribute back. But yeah, I mean, when we were developing the logic around yeah, alt text and captions and how they work and stuff, I mean, I was pretty clear in my own mind how I thought the logic should work, but at the same time, I didn't want to assume that I knew best or that, you know, like I know everything about accessibility, so this is, yeah, it's definitely going to work, and yeah, we'll just release it. I mean, yeah, I don't have all the different various like screen readers and stuff, so I thought, okay, let me just put it out there in the community and see who can help with this. And it was actually Maria who reached out and said she would do some testing of the various scenarios I'd put together. And yeah, I mean, it was really invaluable because it validated the work I had done, but also raised some questions that I hadn't anticipated around, trying to remember what it was, the image credits and how that worked with the rest of the logic. So yeah, definitely, it's just get it out there, put it on Slack, see what people say, because there's always going to be someone who's thinking, at the very least, thinking about the same issues. And if we all start talking about it, then yeah, we can definitely move forward and yeah, coming up with new solutions.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, very yeah, some really good advice there. Just to get stuck into Slack and ask questions and yeah, and get momentum behind a feature that way. You don't have to have the answer to begin with. We're getting a few questions in the chat. I'd like to just give Nova a chance to talk about the apprenticeship that she's starting shortly, and then we can. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I was on mute. Oh dear, I will never learn. I'm just putting up that PDF. You know how much we love PDFs. But I have actually, so I think the lady who's running the apprenticeship, I'm pretty sure she signed up for this session. So maybe she'll want to say something in the chat. But if not, I'm very happy to sort of put. I know she's happy to talk to anybody that's interested in doing this apprenticeship. So I'm very happy to share details if you don't get to talk to her in the chat. But yeah, it's obviously I'm hoping to start in January. There was a cohort starting in November, but just for various reasons there have been some difficulties, and I can't start that one. So January, hopefully. And it's a 2-year course, at which time at the end I will be just like you. I'll be a digital accessibility specialist, hopefully. And it kind of covers all the sectors. And there are, I mean, so you can just trying to see that there is an actual list of what it goes through. So it's everything from testing, it's for developers, it's building in accessibility considerations into the procurement and for all relevant technologies. It's for signing off the technical designs once you've done testing, project requirements relating to accessibility. There are just so many aspects to this. I'm just looking forward to it. It's going to be an interesting couple of years, but it's the first time I've gone back to school in a long time, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But yeah, I do have a PowerPoint that I'm very happy to share, or document that I'm very happy to share with anybody. Yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, maybe
I think I shared the link in the chat, the link online to the actual course as well. I've shared the link to that.
Great. Maybe you could pop a link to the PowerPoint in the accessibility channel on Slack for people to follow up on if you find it.
Yeah, well, I'll put the link to the website up first as well, and then.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So while we've got Mike here, I just want to try and mine his expertise for what would your advice be? What insights can you share, and how to build a thriving accessibility network within an open source community? Like what would you recommend? Where do you think we should start or continue? Because we've already started.
I mean, so much of it comes down to asking people to be involved, trying to go off and see if there's people who you can interest in the process and spark a conversation. Because I think that accessibility is one of these things which is, on the one hand, very altruistic. On the other hand, it's very self-serving. None of us know if we will have the abilities we have today tomorrow. We know that as we grow older, we will not. So it is serving our best interest to work on accessibility issues now while we have the ability to do so. But I think it's also useful in terms of motivating people to participate, to start looking at comparisons. And I just posted a link to this Purple Hat's desktop tool in the chat, which is just one way that people can share their experiences and learn about what are some of the best or what are the errors on their site, but frankly on any site. If people in government start to realize that the accessibility errors that they don't see because they have the ability to use a mouse and are presently visual, well, these are often issues that are easily discoverable by a tool like Purple Hats, and that's something that can quite easily motivate people. I also keep thinking about things like, how good of a speller would we be if spell check wasn't built in? If it was like in the 90s when you had to go off and run a separate app to go off and to spell check your documents, like it's a whole different thing when it's underlined and you can see the errors right there in front of you. And we need to have that in our application. So the editorially module is a great Drupal module to try and look at accessibility issues and for the editors and help them take that next step. I also just absolutely recommend people go and join the accessibility channel on Slack. Maria, I know you're there. I hope other people go there too, because it's a fascinating place to engage with others. And so that's a wonderful thing. I also, we have Drupal accessibility office hours that are once a month, and it's in the evening for you, so it's hopefully that's okay. But it's a good opportunity to talk about accessibility and accessibility issues in Drupal. So what are the problems that we're having? Where would we like it to go, and how can we start to address these issues as early as possible so that they never actually come to your site? If we can solve the issues upstream in Drupal.org and in the modules of Drupal, then you may never see them. On the other hand, if it may be that if we don't act collectively and don't work on it, there's always the shift left philosophy in open source, any software development, that if you fix it earlier in the process, it is both more robust and also more accessible and less expensive. But if you wait to the end, when it actually lands and as part of your local council website, it's going to be something that causes a lot of grief, and it will be expensive for you and everyone else to solve. So those are just some ideas about getting involved, encouraging people to take the next step, and asking questions.
Thank you. Are we all inspired? I am. There are a few questions in the chat. Maybe we could take and feel free to ask more. I think I saw a question from Finn. It was mentioned that there is always ongoing work to make sure accessibility continues to improve. In LocalGov Drupal, is there more urgency in working with 1, people writing the content, 2, developing the technical functionality, modules, themes, digital tools, 3, automation, or 4, something other? So a good question, Finn. Who wants to? Who feels like they can answer that question? All of the above. Is that allowed?
I guess, yeah. I guess you've got more experience directly in the LocalGov Drupal community, maybe. But yeah, just where do you think it is? Do you think it's more about writing the content, or are there lots? Is this, we need the technical tools in place for people to be writing the content to be able to be supported, like Mike was just saying, that these things like, editorially, or making it easier for content editors. So there's some technical work to be done there, but so maybe it is just all of the above. But I just wondered where you think we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could do with developing kind of streams of work around both of those things. We do have an issue queue, which maybe somebody who has it to hand could post in the channel, which is basically all of the accessibility issues tagged across all of our repos. So we've got an accessibility issue queue, which is open for volunteers to take on issues, and I'm sure there's more that we haven't noticed. I'm sure there's some that haven't been tagged as accessibility. So there are plenty of technical issues to tackle. But I think there's also, I really think we've got the capacity within our community to really help train each other, or help develop training for content writers, or tools for content writers, and we need to hear back from the content writers what they would find useful to help them produce accessible content. And personally, that's Ryan.
I mean, I was also going to say, because I've taken more of a product role since we've gone on to LocalGov Drupal, I do think, there is a need for product people to stand up a bit more. I know Keelan used to do it when he was at Essex. He took that on, not just for them, but also within the community as well. And I think it's something I could do more of too. But I think, just when we're developing stuff or thinking about components that we need, just having a bit more thought around, or put again, like I said earlier, putting it out there in the community. So like the other day when we were talking about what was it, buttons, links being used as buttons, like just even if it's just little things like that, which some people may not instantly know, okay, why would that be a problem? Like again, it's raising the awareness of some of the issues around that, but then also yeah, the solutions that you think might, well, yeah, the solutions you might think are a solution, but then actually when you look into it a bit more, they're not actually solutions because they just create other issues, which you and Justine pointed out to me when I was thinking about, yeah, using, what was it, role equals button on links and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think it's all of the above, including stuff that Finn didn't mention as well. I think it is across the board in terms of content, product, and technical as well.
Mike, Nova, have you got anything else to add to that question of your insights?
I mean, I think that there's always opportunity to try and find ways that work better for the users, and to engage, to experiment. And the one thing about this group is you actually have multiple different councils that are exploring. They could try things in different ways and see what works for them. And especially if you're able to go into to use some common testing tools. I mean, obviously you're using accessibility statements, and if you're able to gather feedback from your users about what works for them, that'll be quite helpful. But also if you're able to use tools like Purple Hats or even Pally with Axe to try and scan your infrastructure so that you're building a good solid base as you begin, I think that would be useful, and hope that comes close to at least adding some flourishes to the question.
Thank you. I think it does. I think we've probably got to begin wrapping up now. So we may need to hand back over to Aaron in a second to do the outro. But I just want to give my heartfelt thanks to Mike, Nova, and Ryan for coming to talk today. And yeah, if you come and join the accessibility channel on Slack, and if you've got any ideas what you could offer the accessibility community, what the accessibility community could offer you, and there are lots of more accessibility sessions coming up. I'll post them in chat while Aaron does his outro.
Thank you, Maria. Unless you've got it already, I've got it already in the chat.
You do it then. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Right. So I'm just posting the LocalGov Drupal calendar. If you want to sign up for future events, then go for it. We've got 3 further sessions, explicitly or overtly about accessibility. So Ryan's plugged one of them, the HTML publications. That's tomorrow at 1. Wednesday at 12, we've got creating an accessible and user-driven experience out of the box. That's from Shazia from InViews. And then Thursday at 1, Layla from InViews is going to talk about creating inclusive experiences for send audiences using LGD. So a few different ones there. I just want to say thank you very much to Maria for hosting beautifully, and Mike, Ryan, and Nova for contributing so wonderfully. Thank you so much. Hope everyone found it useful. Thank you to our subscribers and also our sponsor, Home Connections. We look forward to seeing you at another LocalGov Drupal event later in the week. Do sign up, and also please give us your feedback on the session. You'll get an email from Luma asking for your feedback. Do give us honest feedback to help us make it better. Thank you so much. See you soon.